Listen, can we talk about how much I missed that intro?
Wow, my headphones was bass. I mean, excuse me, bass, bass. How low
This
can
is
you
the
go?
hottest intro on the internet. I don't care
Yeah,
who you are.
I'm trying to tell you,
I don't care who you
bass.
are.
How low can you
I
go?
miss that intro so much. I don't know how you feel, Farron, but over the last after the last couple of months, life been lifing.
I don't even want to talk. Are we gonna go to lifing right now? Are we really gonna go there
Is that how we're starting the show? Life
in
has
the
been
opening
lifing.
act? Not the
Listen,
opening
we
segment.
we
No.
were supposed to take, I think it was 2 weeks off. We're supposed to
We,
yes.
we,
we
moi,
we were supposed to take a couple weeks off, and here we are a couple months later. I'm so glad to be back with you this evening to continue this conversation that we started a couple months ago.
Oh, we could just end it if you want. You know, it's really cool with me. We can
But
make a
that would be
decision.
I was going to say that's a difficult decision to make. Listen, guys, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. This is Beyond 2D. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and this is my fabulous co-host.
No, I'm the other D. Farron,
The other
Dozier,
D.
tired. Sergeant First Class. It's a family show. I don't know. Sorry.
There's so many ways we could go with this. So this is Beyond 2D. We go deep. There's another D word into
It is right there. That's what I was
conversation. Yeah, we go deep in conversation about different things that sometimes, I feel like this show is such a help for people because we don't often make the intentional space for having sort of rabbit hole conversations where we go, let's take a concept and let's peel off
Who
all
does
the layers.
that? Who does
Who
that?
does that? We do that. And then we give you some outlet. What do the kids say? Bussin' music? I don't know what the kids say.
I'm 55. I'm in a new generation already.
We give you an intro that's all that and a bag of chips.
Yes, Doritos.
Yeah. Yum. So as we have this conversation, listen, Ollie's joining us tonight. Got some masculine energy in the building for you this evening, Farron.
Thank you, my guy. Thank you. Finally, 3 seasons later.
I'm glad I took the decision to say yes, even though I'm also focused on my stuff. It's okay. You can listen and do.
Yes.
That's what I do when I'm watching shows, you guys. If I'm being honest, I'm multitasking. Miss Brittany's here, of course. There's my lady.
Hey! Brittany!
We got happy Tuesday. Life be lifing. That's what it is lately. It just has. It's been crazy. But we started this conversation, like I said a couple months ago, talking about decision, the word decision versus the word choice. And where do we put our energy? Which word do we find power in? Mm-hmm. And maybe I feel like we gave a nice overview a couple months ago. You can go back anytime to our YouTube at the Breakthrough Show Network and check out that episode if you missed it. But the next 2 episodes, this one, we're going to be breaking down that word decision and talk about the weight of that word, the real weight of it. And then next episode, we'll be talking about the word choice, which could feel different to you. I don't know. I'm here. I can tell you, I think Farron and I are both in a place where we can tell you our experience with things that we talk about. We can tell you the definition of things, but ultimately you got to process it through your own stuff.
Filters.
Yes. As it be. Okay, so let's go do a quick recap. Here. Yes, that's why we're here. Okay. See, if for all of you that are new to the show, please take a moment and say hello in the comment section wherever you're watching from. Let us know if it's your first time here, if you're coming back, if you're excited about this topic, if it makes you nervous, if you don't care, let us know in the comments. But last time we talked about the definition, so we started with the word choice. And choice is a noun, an act or instance of choosing. We love dictionary.com because it's just like, okay, tell us what choosing means then, please. Thank you. It's a verb to select from a number of possibilities, pick by preference, to prefer or decide, which is interesting, to want or to desire.
Keyword right there. Well, go back. Keyword right there is from a number of possibilities. Keyword. Remember that possibilities right there. Remember that word right there. That's gonna be key to your experience of the difference.
There it is.
Nugget.
There it is. We talked about some synonyms of the different words. And there's some for choice there. Again, some words just feel better than others. That's why I like to look at the
Mhm.
synonyms, because while choice may not feel pretty to you, maybe variety. You like that better. Maybe that's the
Mhm.
nice one for you, and that's fine. So then we looked at the word decision.
Woo.
Again, thank you, dictionary. The act of or process of deciding. Well, what does to decide mean? It's a verb to
Ah.
solve or conclude.
Ooh, look at that keyword right there. It's
By
so
giving, I love this part, by giving victory to one side.
Ooh, and I'm trying to tell you.
There it is.
Can we touch on those? Ooh, because that's
Yeah, we're going to we're
yeah.
going to break
Oh
down
yeah, we're
this
gonna
one
go break them
tonight.
down. Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
one we're going to break down tonight. And then we looked, of course, at some synonyms for decision as well. Perhaps you can make it a little more fluffy, but all of these synonyms for decision were so much more rough than the
I'm
choice
trying to
ones.
tell you, there's a
Okay.
sign, there's a reason why.
I'm saying, listen, Ollie, I'm learning quickly about Ollie. Ollie is the king of words.
Ah,
And is so good with breaking things down. So this is the perfect show for you to tune in on, Ollie, because it's
yes.
fantastic. Ollie said decision, to cut through and decide. And
Ali,
side
yes.
means
My
to
God.
cut, to kill, like incision, genocide, precision. See? Yes, you are a wordier. Ollie.
Genocide, Ali, genocide, suicide, pesticide, homicide, all kill off.
Yeah,
That's why we're doing this conversation,
yeah,
because sometimes when we make decisions, mm, mm, mm.
that's it. That's it. All right. So since we're talking about decide this go round, we're going to go ahead and put that up on the screen while we have this conversation.
Mhm.
So, I think the biggest thing that I'm getting in the definition is the finality of. We talk about it like killing off that side part, right?
Mhm.
The decision often carries a sense of permanence or gravity. Unlike a casual like choice, like just choose one, a
Mhm.
decision feels like something with a lasting impact.
Mhm.
And it, even if you don't feel like, okay, that if you don't necessarily feel like this the side and part of it, you're literally with that part of the word cutting off other options.
Yes.
Like you're going, there's nothing else. This is what we're doing.
You just cut off your possibilities.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned that, oh my goodness.
Right.
Talk about freedom and peace, because this this conversation is one of the ones that had me be responsible for the choice of words that I started to use. When you start to be responsible and take ownership of your life and your life experiences in your past, it's like, oh, I got to watch what I say for real. Like there's power in our words, in the tongue, and the words that we use, and especially when if you're a person who describes your life, because you don't want to tell people exactly what's going on, so you describe it. That yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, so
Woo!
it's I think the word decide has the potential to create both relief and pressure depending. And so I want to talk about the pressure part first, because the relief part will come in the next little next segment here. But
Yeah.
so what kind of I mean, I guess we'll start. What kind of things did you ever catch yourself deciding something for yourself, and how did that impact you?
Prior to my understanding or revelation of this word, um, my experience of my decisions or deciding things were always like hard, because I had so many reasons why I wanted to do something.
Mm,
So for me, it was such a struggle to try to pick something, because it's like, if I pick this, then what happens? If I pick this, then what happens? And I have reasons why. And so for me, it was a difficult experience,
mm,
like a struggle,
right.
like a weight.
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it's like,
I'm not a go ahead.
oh no, I'm good. I'm just it's like the reasons why.
Yeah. I'm not a I don't like that feeling of cutting off, of finality. And so to decide to make a decision is always really tough for me because I feel like if I pick chocolate, then I can't have vanilla. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a scoop of each because and now you know Jessica is why the way she is. Um, I will too because I just like I'm like why should we why should we cut off one choice when we could just experience the rainbow? I don't know. It's hard for me.
Yeah, that's well, and so as you were answering the question, I'm listening to how you know attempt to describe it, right?
Yeah.
And what I heard from myself was, what is it before the decision? There's a process,
Mhm.
right? And so to get to the point to make that decision, there's a whole process that I have to go through before I could be like, okay, I'm going to choose the chocolate
Right.
or decide to pick the chocolate, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, that's the ingredients of our conversation that we want to start to get to is, what is your decision making process?
Mm.
Like, do you even have one? Do we even think about that we even have a
Right.
process that we make decisions based off of what?
Right.
And so
Um,
to me, that's the question of the day is, what is your process? I think your decision making process.
I think, you know, I mentioned that cutting off or deciding can create both relief and pressure, depending. And I think the relief part of thing is it ties into something known as decision fatigue. This is a real thing that happens. Doctors talk about this before. I'm going to share with you a little bit about it. So, this is what an article that came from the AMA, American Medical Association. It says this. It starts out with this: from the moment we wake up, we are seemingly bombarded with choices: what to wear, what to eat, which emails to answer first. And by the time we've navigated our morning routine, and that's just up to that point, our mental energy has already taken a hit. And as the day wears on, the sheer weight of decision making can start taking its toll, often without us even realizing it. Making decisions day in and day out can be exhausting and cause people to feel overwhelmed, anxious, and stressed out. This is known as decision fatigue, which is a state of mental overload that can impede a person's ability to continue making decisions. And it talks about how I read another article that was saying, you know, have you ever gotten to the end of the day and it's time for dinner, you're hungry, and you go open the refrigerator and your refrigerator's full of food and you don't know what to eat?
Woo wee!
And that's true decision fatigue. It's because you have spent the entire day subconsciously, even not even necessarily consciously, but all day you have spent making decisions, and now you're just like, somebody put the food in my stomach, please and thank you.
But see, even with that, because I'm definitely, that is my number one issue. I want to hire a chef. I want to hire a chef so bad. I told my friend, I'm like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a older, like Latin Hispanic lady who could live here. She could live in my house for free.
It could be Taco Tuesday every day.
All she gotta do is cook and clean, and she could just live for free. And I ain't gotta worry about eating. Because no, I'm gonna be honest with you. Because my decision making process of what figuring out what to eat is based on what I read about and hear about the food quality.
Mm.
So it's like, what can I eat tonight that's as healthy as possible
It's
that
gonna
I could
nourish you,
that's
not
gonna
yeah,
nourish me. And so deciding that is like, I will not eat. I would rather not eat than to try to figure out something that's gonna be poison
yeah.
in my body. And that's challenging for me. And some days it's a free choice to pick stuff, but
Yeah.
80% of the time I struggle with. And now you're talking about 3 meals. Now we're not talking about dinner. I'm talking about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you're eating 3 times a day, I I'm challenged with making a decision on what to eat on a daily
Right.
basis.
Right. So I mean, if you think about all the sources of fatigue, one being whatever we do before we have to make that decision. So think about before you even get to breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
how many decisions, and like I said, there's a lot of decisions that we make consciously, but many are just we just go. We're on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
And so how many decisions realistically do you think you make before you even get to breakfast?
Oh,
Like probably a lot.
as soon as my eyes go boop,
Yep.
okay, are we gonna get up right now? Or are we gonna? How
Yep.
bad do I have to go to the bathroom right now?
Right. So, how many decisions you make, then, like you talked about, it's also filtered through our life experiences, our things that we've learned, the things that we've been through. I've had the same issue with food for the same reasons. A lot of it health conscious reasons. So going, if I eat this now, what's what's my quality of life going to be like tomorrow?
Bruh.
If I eat this now, my quality of life is going to be okay, but then it goes through another filter. What about a month from now if I keep doing this every day? You know? And so we've got all the decisions we made up until that point. We've got the filter of our life experiences and the things that we've learned. Then we've got one of my favorites, outside opinions that, that may or may not be coming in. And
Yeah.
in my house, meals
Woo!
are a fun time because we have
Woo!
7 opinions of what everybody wants to eat.
Woo!
Um,
I
and
only got
so
one.
that can really create that space of fatigue too,
Yeah.
because you know, like, okay, it's really cute to say, just pick what you want, Jessica. When you have a lot of outside chatter, it really is not that easy. Even if you are stuck, I will be sure I will be sure that tonight is gonna be Taco Tuesday, and then I will hear someone talking in the other room, "Gosh, I wish we had meatloaf tonight. I wish we had this, and I wish we were having pasta." And then I go, "Was that the right decision?"
Oh.
Right? And so outside opinions, that's another one. And this is just off the cuff. So if this is stuff that we can think about that
Mhm.
contribute to the fatigue of our making decisions, then imagine stuff that's contributing that we're not even aware of.
Not even not that's what I'm saying. The stuff that's so deep rooted that the subconscious mind and the automatic of life is it automatically cancels that automatically.
Right.
Automatically. But your mind is the emotional fatigue that comes with that is what we're pointing is what you're pointing to for me is that our brain is just racing and racing and all day long and we don't realize how emotional draining that is as we're observing that behavior in our mind like
Right.
and it's more than just emotions then it becomes physical
Right.
health.
We think about how fast paced the world is right now too. Sometimes it's like now we need a decision
Oh.
now. And our brains, I don't think we're designed to,
Mhm.
I mean, I think we've adapted as well as we can over time, but I don't think that we're necessarily meant to. That makes me nervous. I
Yeah.
I start to feel, even if it's something as simple as food, if we get in the car, I hope my husband's watching this right now.
Hey Phil.
Okay, so when we're all getting ready to go, my husband will go something like, I'm just going to go ahead and get in the car and wait for you. Jessica doesn't like that. And the reason why is because now I feel like, okay, I got to hurry up. I got to hurry up and get in the car. I got to hurry up and make. Now,
uh,
he doesn't say that. So I'm going to be fair. He doesn't say, Jessica, hurry up. He likes to just
yeah.
sit in the car and listen to music till I'm ready. But
Yeah.
it's still the action of him walking out the door. And then it adds a whole other layer. If
Start the
say
clock.
the reason we're leaving is to go get something to eat, if we haven't made a decision by the time, if he starts driving and then says
Oh.
to me, "Where do you want to go?" Sir, you better pull over and get a cup of coffee. You better pull over and get a cup of coffee because that's how long it's going to take me to pick somewhere. Or you better just pick.
I had to eventually practice. Like, okay, I know I have, like you said, you open the refrigerator and there's food there.
Mm.
How many times we open up the refrigerator and say, I don't want to eat none of this food in here.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to eat, and then they're gonna go somewhere to get. And so I had to, when I recognized this in myself, I started catching myself and practicing. No, I'm gonna figure out what's in here and eat what's inside this refrigerator, and not try to figure out outside. Do I want to go outside? Do I want to go to there? Do I want to drive through? Do I want to go sit down? No. So I started. That was how I started to recognize my behavior, and then practice. Like, no, I have food, and that also interrupted the worry, because again, there are other emotions. We're talking about the emotional fatigue. What is that for you? That's causing you, and you named a few: anxiety and worry and concerns and blah. Like all those, it's like, okay, no, I disappeared my worrying by accepting that what I have in the refrigerator, I'm just gonna make something, and that's just gonna be it.
Yeah.
But my issue with food is also I don't have patience, because cooking food takes patience.
That's
right?
another. Yeah.
And so that's my anxiety.
Well, and that's a decision that you've made for yourself.
Well, of course.
That in itself is a decision that you've made. You've decided that it takes patience to go ahead and cook yourself something.
Yeah. And if I don't experience patience right now, then guess what? We out.
Yeah. Yep.
We out.
So this decision fatigue, just for some people, the signs of this decision fatigue can be things like procrastination, anxiety, frustration, or even getting to apathy. How many times have we gone to make a decision and then we go, I just don't care. I just don't care, because we're just, and I find myself in that particular one a lot.
Ooh,
a lot. Like I'm just, if I have 15 things in front of me and I'm out, I'm tapped out, the fatigue is real, and I'm like, you pick. I don't care. You pick, because I just don't want to be, for what? I don't know. I don't want to be responsible for the choice, which is a whole other part of the conversation.
Mine is, why bother?
Yeah.
And so nothing takes place.
Right.
And my friends call it, like, did you have lunch yet? Like, nah. Oh, you must be waiting for dinner. Nah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
and so I want to with this, I want to bring up a comment that Ollie said, because it's so good. First, he said later is also a decision.
Ooh,
see, really everything that we make a decision on is a decision, even if we don't. To not make a decision is also a decision, is the thing. He said, yes, the decision is made because of the suffering of the past. Sometimes we are also so fatigued that we decide not to make the decision. Decide to not decide,
and then still suffer.
Yeah. Yep. Also, when it's others' agenda and decision, not now. When I'm forced by someone else to make a decision, most of the time it's a no.
Oh.
He said, I don't like to feel forced either. I don't like to feel backed into a corner.
Oh.
I don't like that.
The pressure. That's pressure.
Yeah. Well, that's the third point on my list tonight, is the pressure. The pressure to get it right. The pressure to get it right. Fear of regret or failure often makes decisions feel heavier than they need to be. Perfectionism, societal expectations magnify that pressure. How can we reframe decisions from something to fear to something to trust?
Anybody? Anybody?
Bueller.
Anybody?
Is this thing on?
Anybody?
Yeah.
that's again, that's I, I I don't say I experience that all the time, but a great percentage of my life is the pressures of making a decision. And kind of what you just said, and this has only been the last 2 weeks, um, that I discovered that a lot of my decisions making process ingredients is mixed in with I'm not good enough and I'm not worth it. And which ultimately I peeled that layer off because I'm like, okay, what is that? And it's actually what you just said, being perfect. Is this food going to be perfect, or am I going to burn it? I don't want to get salmonella from trying to bake a chicken, so I cook the chicken for 3 hours and then it's dried out. Then it's now you nobody. I don't even want to eat it. It's like
You burnt that salmonella right off it.
I'll make sure I ain't get sick tonight, baby. It might be dry, but I ain't gonna get sick.
Yep. Yep.
And so ultimately, that's like the fear of death.
Yeah.
That's like the fear of dying from food, which is real for me.
Right.
Because when I watch TV in the past and you see these celebrities die, and it's like, man, they die from cancer or some food poisoning. It's like, well, dang, well, how much time do I got? That celebrity died at 55 and I'm 40, and I'm like, dang, am I gonna make it to 50? And so you have all these life experiences, pressures of what the brain is designed to do for us is keep us alive.
Well, you know what's interesting about this conversation, though, is not everybody's brains work this way. And I have shared this time and time again that when my brother passed away, so he was 4 years younger than me. He was 24 when he died, and I was 28 at the time. And that was life changing for me. I mean, since that time, I've completely changed the way that I've lived my life. Like every aspect, physically, emotionally, spiritually, the whole deal. And that's because somewhere in my brain it went, oh crap, he was 4 years younger than you. This could happen to you at any moment, Jessica. You better get on it. Like something in me just snapped. And that's what I shared about when I wrote in the book Shine for the first time, was about that experience. How, ironically enough, because we're on the Breakthrough Show Network, it was a breakthrough for me. And it was a realization, and then also my decision to use it as a turning point.
Oh
To
yeah.
go to have these realizations and go, okay, this is now going to change for me going forward.
Yeah.
And so, one, I realize I have to realize in this conversation that not everybody is going to have those realizations. I see people all the time that see people, loved ones, die of something, and they're just like, not that they're indifferent to them dying, but allowing and then making a choice to go, okay, I'm going to use this as an example, and I'm going to go ahead and change my own life. They just don't care.
Yeah.
They're in that sort of, and maybe part of it is what we're talking about tonight. Perhaps some of it is that decision fatigue. Maybe it feels overwhelming for them, so now they have apathy.
Yeah, like you said, maybe our brains don't operate the same, but at the core of the decision making process, it's all the same formula. And like you say, some people turn those turning points into progress and change, and some people take those turning points as woe is me, and then I'm in this negative space. But imagine sometimes the decision that we make from those kind of conversations begins to drive us so much that we experience more fatigue because we're trying to be the perfect, like you talked about, trying to be so perfect and so healthy, and then yet our life is suffering still because what is the ingredients of my decision making process? And I can admit that some of those ingredients of my decision making process were corrupted information, was misinformation, was from fear and worry and concern and happiness and joy and fun, and like all of that is in there. And can I control which one comes up in that decision making process? Sometimes I can't.
Right.
Because the anxiety comes up first, and it's like, okay, I gotta make a decision. I'm already anxious before I even try to figure out which route I want to go.
Right.
The natural response of the body. That's how I describe my experience of it.
Right. Right. Well, listen, I want to talk about some of the actual like tools and things that we can use and also how our language reflects our decision making experience. When we come back, we got a couple short break and we'll be right back after this. In
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
2 and 2. No, it's actually a little longer than that. We'll be right back.
5 and 5. It's 10 minutes.
Right back after this.
You better not
5
take
minutes.
a 10-minute break. You better not go for 10 minutes.
Get you a drink. You have 5 minutes. Go to the bathroom, get a drink. We'll be right. Make a
Let me
decision
make a decision.
and come right back. We'll
Do I
be right back.
want to
after
get up right now or no?
Bye, everybody. For years, our network commercial has begun with the following words. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. We stand by those words because they're true. Big breakthroughs don't always happen in big moments. It doesn't have to take losing it all to experience a giant shift in your life. Some of them arrive quietly in the night, during a moment of laughter, or when you unexpectedly meet someone new. Big opportunities for breakthroughs are happening all the time. Have you recognized them? Have you chosen to see them? Have you made the brave decision to act on them? Big breakthroughs aren't always handed to you on a silver platter. Sometimes we can create breakthroughs by listening to that small, still voice inside of us that whispers, "It's time." Every breakthrough is a big breakthrough because even the smallest, quietest of moments can be the tiniest pebble that creates a ripple effect that changes the world. Your potential is unlimited. As we approach our 8th year, I'm reminded of the very important work we do. Work that I envisioned so strongly with every fiber of my being all those years ago. Now I am moved to tears often as I've watched it come to life before my eyes. I am filled with gratitude. I am filled with love. Most importantly, for the first time ever, I am filled with not just hope, but the absolute knowing that we are making a difference in lives all across the globe. We are the moment of laughter. We are the presenters of opportunity. We are the creators of inspiration. We are the magnification of the small, still voices that live inside each and every one of us. We are the pebbles that are changing the world. We are the Breakthrough Show Network. And you, well, you're invited. Visit us today at thebreakthroughshownetwork.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was your game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh,
too,
man,
bro.
that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter had sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
Welcome back to Beyond 2D. We're here, Jessica, Farron. We're talking about choices versus decisions this series, and tonight we're talking about the weight of decision from pressure, fatigue, and the cost of choosing.
The weight.
And I love this topic today because earlier today, Stacey Brayuka had a new episode of Show Me Your Nuts here on the Breakthrough Show Network, and she was talking about freedom, our personal freedom inside to choose, to make decisions, and the power in that. I know it's stuck in my head too. And so, but she was talking about some similar things that we're talking about tonight. So it all ties in here on the network, boys and girls, and you can
I'm
go
trying to tell
subscribe
you.
on the YouTube at the Breakthrough Show Network there, and visit our website as well, thebreakthroughshownetwork.com. You can watch all the past episodes of things, but it all ties beautifully together. I want to talk about some decision-making tools and practices, and also how our language reflects our experience. So the word decision itself already implies stress. We've already talked about that in the definition of the word. I'm going to pull it back up on the screen here if I can get myself together.
Get yourself together.
Boop. Okay, there we go. Decision. It already implies stress, but how can I think some of it is how we shift how we use it and how we process the word. And we have to examine where our feelings about the word, just like other things we've examined on the show, where do our feelings about the word come from? Is it just a feeling you have, or do you remember seeing or making decisions and going, oh, I'm not decided anymore, because that's what happens when you decide.
You know, I was thinking back even earlier today, and it was like I heard about consequences growing up, right? And it wasn't until, I don't know, even the last 10 years, maybe 15 years, because I've been at this for 15 years now, that I heard of unforeseen consequences. I was like, what are those? It's like, you mean I heard of consequences, but you mean to tell me that there's unforeseen consequences? And I had no idea until I heard that conversation that I had experienced some unforeseen consequences in my life that was like, ooh, I didn't expect that to happen, based off of the decision or even the choice that I made. It was like, I did it for this reason, but this turned out. It was like, ooh. And so, again, I added that too, for me, was get a better understanding of consequences for myself, and then learn about how do unforeseen consequences even show up. And that's how I got to this space where I enjoyed this conversation about choice and decision, because I now have a understanding of even how to navigate unforeseen consequences that you don't even expect that could happen in the possibility or decision. So right. That's how I figured it out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't by nobody in my family.
We have unforeseen consequences and then also unseen consequences. And I think that's something that could add to decision fatigue as well. I'm going to assume you're familiar with the butterfly effect.
I mean, I've heard about the cliche.
It's an idea that small changes in a complex system can lead to large, unpredictable differences in a later state. There was a movie that was made however long ago, and they were able to go back to a different time, and because they did one little thing differently, everything in the future changed. Like, and so there's anytime somebody asks me that question, like, would you ever go back? Like, would you ever go back to a certain time? And I was like, if I could observe and just have more gratitude, I think I would go back, but I would be so afraid to touch anything because you could one little change. I mean, think about it. Early on in your life, one little decision that you made, one little thing, how different could your life be today?
But see that goes back to the brain functions and how we think. I could spend my life going back and trying to figure out that, or I could accept where I am today,
right,
and be like, okay, what corrections do I want to make? Because I
right.
believe me, I've made some decisions from 10, 12, 15 years ago, and the unforeseen consequence didn't show up until most recently. I was like, ooh, that's not what I thought was gonna happen, or that's not how I thought I was gonna feel when I made that decision. And I'm like, oh, now I gotta rethink that and see that, is this where I want to be today? Because I didn't know that that's how that was even gonna feel when that popped up, and it took 12 years to pop up.
There it is. There it is. That's a great example, Ollie, too. When I'm Back to the Future, the movie Back to the Future, when Marty McFly decided to buy this book of all the winning scores, and then the villain gets back in the past and changes the future and becomes super, like, everything changes because of one little thing. And I think that that's such a, what you're talking about, of let's not talk about, what would happen if we could go back. Let's go, what decisions, what choices can we make today that could influence our future in the direction that we wanted to go? And so I think one of the things that you were talking about, the word consequence, Stacy was talking about that on the show this morning, and she was going on about, and I was here for it because I feel very strongly about this, that sometimes because we talk about leadership a lot on this show sometimes, in perspective of the things we're talking about from a leadership position. So I try to ask myself, I always honor my, most of the time I'm conscious of honoring what my thoughts are, like you talk about often, coming from your principles, your things that you stand on, right? Like I start there. And then I also ask myself in almost every conversation, if I go off about this, how is that going to impact other people? And that's putting on the leadership hat. Okay. And so I was in a conversation recently where someone was talking about being in this space where they want to make room for everybody to just express whatever they feel. And see, that's what what your face just did is what my brain did. My brain did, because what we talked about on Stacy's show this morning is that you are free to make whatever choice you want, but you are not free from any consequence that you have as a result of that choice.
See?
So you can sit here and go, I'm going to rant and rave about whatever I want to rant and rave about, which is fine. It's your prerogative to do that. But you also need to understand that the words that you use may be being unintentionally cutting someone off. You may need to understand that the way that you're ranting could overwhelm someone that you love. It could put them in a space of fear that they were never in to begin with. And so if we're going to talk about this from the perspective of one, leadership, or two, from the place of simply wanting to do no harm and change the world for the better, we have to say, what are the choices that we're making? How is it affecting other people? And that's a hard thing, because I feel like we're in a world right now where so many people are like, do you, boo? Well, Well, what are the consequences of that?
Hey, I live from my biblical kingdom principles. I now live from, just because you got the right to say something don't mean it's right. So you got the right to do whatever you want to do and say what you want to say, but that don't mean it's right. And I live by that one now, which because, but I also started years ago with my personal development, because again I became responsible for my words. When I learned how powerful my words were to myself and how I thought and how I talked, I had to make sure that I put a zipper on that, to make sure that when I speak, I'm intentionally saying what I'm using the best word to describe or say exactly to as close as possible as what I'm feeling or thinking. Than how I used to talk before, as you say, would be damaging. It'd be free for me, but damaging to people in my life.
You told me yesterday, was it yesterday, you said you were speaking? You were speaking
Yeah.
somewhere, and what do you remember what the words I said to you were?
No, what did you say?
I said speak with conviction.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
but here's the thing, I wouldn't necessarily say that to everybody. Okay? I would not necessarily say that to everybody, and this is why. I said it to you because I know that you speak with intentionality.
Yeah.
I know that you evaluate what you say
Yeah.
before you say it. And I want to be clear here. I'm not talking about living a life where you're walking on eggshells.
No,
That's
not that life. No,
that's
no, we're
not
not.
that's not what I'm
definitely not
talking
that.
about here.
No. Definitely not that life.
Yeah, look, I'm just talking about being intentional about what is your meaning of what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay, like what are you trying to portray, and what is that being filtered through? Same as our decisions we make.
Yes.
Because the truth is, and how this is tying together for me is that every word that we choose to utter is a decision we're making. Every word that we say is a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that has popped up for me very recently. As I have been in a position to report on some things that are very important, I feel like in the period of life that I'm in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to decide what I'm going to prioritize in any given moment, whether it's how I personally feel about the situation,
Yeah.
how I feel as a representative of certain communities, how I feel as the head of this network, how I feel like which hat am I going to decide to wear, which one is the most important and why. And that's why it's cute for me when people say it's cute for me when they say, well, just lean into your intuition. Okay, yes, leaning into however you want to call it, leaning into your faith, your gut, your God, whatever your intuition, whatever you want to lean into is fine. But until you're faced with something that could potentially change not just your life, but a lot of people's lives,
Yep.
you can listen to whatever voice you want. It's still not an easy decision to make.
Nope.
That's
So,
it.
in my relating this to your, what do you say?
We can't serve everyone, but we can operate authentically and be guided by the golden rule. Be fair, courteous, and intentional in all interactions, even if it means saying no.
And you know how much
Very good.
you know how much courage it takes to say no to somebody, though?
Is that Rez? That's Rez out there, isn't it? We're getting all that masculine energy for you today.
Praise the Lord, my prayers were answered.
Listen, this is what happens when you manifest.
Thank you. It took a few weeks off.
I thought it was. Listen, Farron has been. This is what it took. We just needed some time away to collect a balanced energy, and then.
Yeah, exactly. Which leads to what you were saying, right? In the space that you're in, and making these new decisions about what you're going to take on, right?
Yeah.
So 6 years ago, after my dad, his life was transitioned, the worrying and the concerns that I had of how much time I got left, hearing when I talk, I could hear his voice as I decided to grow a beard. I start to see his face in the mirror, and I'm like, I can't live like this, bro. Like, I love you, man. I said, but I hear you, I see you, and I don't know what to do with that. And so I went back to church because I'm like, God, you got to help me. And in that time, I decided to follow Christ. And that was a decision. And I made that decision because of the first 40 plus years of my life. There's a lot of stuff going on in my heart that's just mixed with all kinds of stuff. Good, bad, indifferent, upsets, depression, anxiety, frustration, joy, fun, excitement, shame, embarrassment, disappointment. All that's in my heart. I swim in all of that. And I had to make that a decision to follow Christ so that I could remind myself that I wanted to give up and cut off all those other possibilities that were in my own heart, and to follow what he had to say about who I'm supposed to be or who I get to be about his word. And that is a daily daily decision. That's a decision, right? Because I'm conscious of the unforeseen consequences of that decision if I don't fulfill in making that decision. I'm aware of my behavior if I decide not to follow those principles anymore. I already know what I'm going to get from Farron's behavior already. I already know when Farron goes in his head, it's a wrap. But I've been following Christ's words, and the more I practice those principles, actually, the more freer I've gotten in myself and in my character and my behavior to just be accountable, be responsible for what I say. Again, all these things that I had been developing, but I was missing that theology part of my life that I say that I decided to live by these three. I decided to live by these three categories: ideology, philosophy, and theology. Right. And so I needed to get a new theology because the other one I had was more religious. And I was like, okay, let me leave that alone. But following Christ has been a decision, and it's a reminder of the unforeseen consequences that if I choose or decide not to follow those principles anymore.
All I hear in my head now.
Yeah.
No.
What's here? What?
I have decided
to follow.
That's all
run that back. But yeah. And this is why, so we're not saying that it's not a good idea to make decisions. Right. We're not saying that. Some things in life you have to make a decision. Right. If you're at this turning point of your life that you want to make sure that this is the way I wanted my life to go, then you've got to make a decision. That way, see, this is what I want to say. When in the definitions that you had up there, when you make a decision, especially for a reason, you kill off any other possibility. And what happens is when that decision doesn't turn out based off the reason why you did it, then you defend the reason till death. And you're not free to make another decision to something else because you're too busy focused on the reason why it didn't turn out. And then you fight that battle until you realize that you can be free from that decision. So I hear people say, it feels like I ran into a brick wall. Like I feel stuck. Like those are the emotional consequences that come with, especially when you make a decision for a reason, right, and you don't realize the unforeseen consequences. Like you don't realize that.
Yeah. You know what? Where I go ahead, finish.
No. That was it. Yeah.
Where I have found my freedom in the word is knowing that I can decide again when it doesn't like go ahead and be strong and make that decision and go ahead, because sometimes it's hard for me, especially as a very multi-passionate person. Like I said, I want the chocolate and the vanilla ice cream. What are the consequences of that? I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow because now I've had too much sugar. Okay. But that's what I want. I want to do all the things. Mm-hmm. I understand the consequences of that though. So I'm going to go ahead and make a decision and know that if this doesn't work out how I hoped it would,
Yeah.
or then I could go ahead and choose again. Or another thing that helps me is while I'm making the decision, instead of starting with the what if this doesn't work out, then
Yeah.
going, what if this turns out even better than I can imagine?
Ooh.
Like mindset, set yourself up. And then if it, I'm going to go back to my favorite quote, and Farron's going to go, I'm so sick of you saying this, Jessica.
Let me hear it.
My
Let me see how
favorite quote from Anne of Green Gables, okay? And she says, I can't help but flying upon the wings of anticipation. It's as glorious as sailing through a sunset. It almost pays for the thud. Because that's how I am. Like, I just want to like go and soar and fly. And if I fall down, I can go, well, that was fun. That was a good time.
Really?
And then
Do you live
I
like
don't
that?
always. I don't always, but I really try to make an effort now of going like, okay, evaluating, what did I learn from this? Did I, and this goes back to a decision that
Wow.
I made at the end of 2019 where I said, I'm not going to do anything that doesn't bring me joy anymore.
Mm.
Now, that doesn't mean that I don't pay my bills, that I don't do the dishes, that I don't do those things that do not bring me joy. I promise you that. It means that if I have to do something that doesn't bring me joy, I'm going to bring my joy to it. I got to wash the dishes. I'm going to crank up some rap in my kitchen. And you all already saw the video a couple weeks ago. And maybe you didn't. You could just ask me for that. And it'll be, you're welcome. If I got to go pay my bills and I'm upset that I'm about to be at zero, I go, thank God, some gratitude. Thank God I have the money to pay my bill.
I'm trying to tell you.
Amen. Okay.
I'm trying to tell you.
So now this isn't foolproof, okay? Because we're human beings. We're always going to have those little voices somewhere that are be like, this is not a good time. But it goes back to, we get to choose, how do we want to approach it, and how do so those are things that help me. One, knowing that I get to choose again if this goes awry, and sometimes it does, that I get to choose again, and that's fine. And two, that I go into it with an attitude of gratitude, which is that what if this is even better,
right?
Then
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. That particular quote is from the book. See, now you're gonna get me on Anna Green Gables trivia over here. There's two versions. There's the book version. Thank you, though, Ollie. Yes, it's one of my favorite things, because we talked about that this morning. Like, sometimes what holds us back is that perfection.
Oh yeah.
Doing the things that we want to do. Just
I
it.
You said, I'm like, I'm not even going for the thud. No way. I gotta land on my feet. No. As far as the unforeseen consequences, I want to leave this part out there. How I added that to my conversation when I bought my first ABA team. I had interviewed a guy who had a team on my sports show, and he folded his team, and I remembered that from the interview. So when the opportunity came to buy a team, I called him and I said, hey, so I have an opportunity to buy an ABA basketball team. Can you give me some insights of what you went through and why you folded? And we talked for like about 90 minutes. And I just kept listening and asking questions. And after that conversation, I was like, you know what? Based off of the reasons why he folded his team, I could handle those unforeseen consequences. And that's how I was able to, buy that team. Now there was one part that was an unforeseen consequence that got me stuck, was the pandemic. And I didn't want to be responsible for those players' lives because the teams were still playing during the pandemic. And I said, and that was a decision, because it still hurt me. But I had to make a decision that, do I want to be responsible for these guys playing basketball and catching COVID and dying or taking that sickness to their home? I said, I don't want to be responsible for that. That's people's
You
lives.
know, that was actually brought up in that article that I shared about decision fatigue,
Yeah.
how that period of time really made it even worse for people because so many people were like, well, what happens if I go to work? What happens if you're a boss or something? What happens if you make people go to work? What
Yeah.
happens if I get the shot? What happens if I don't get the shot? What happens if blah, 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 and it got worse during
yeah.
that period of time.
Oh yeah. Yesterday, the teenagers that did a presentation at Drew Medical Center said that during that 2020 period, youth suicide went up 315%
Wow.
during that pandemic time frame. The youth suicide went up 315%. And so the decision I made not to play that season, it hurt me because I had a heck of a team and we probably would have whooped everybody in the league, but those players went and played they went to other teams.
See how you slid that in there. See how you slid that in there.
So that was my only pain because we had a good team. I just could not see myself being responsible for their life. Yeah. And that was a decision and there was an unforeseen consequence because what it did was then I was stuck. Well, when do I play? And I waited 3 years, almost 4 years to play, to make sure that I was to get out of that decision of not playing in 2020. It took me 4 years to make a decision to put the team in the league finally.
Right. I mean, the same thing is why I end up talking to parents a lot about not getting judgy about other parents' decisions because what that they do with their children, where their children are concerned, because in my example, you know, I can only speak for myself, so I'll just speak from there. We've been through a lot of stuff as a family, and no matter what you do, so I remember when my daughter was sick as a child, and she was a couple years. It was really rough, really, really rough with her, and I remember feeling no matter what I did. I made the wrong decision. This is my fault. Like I took and you really do as a parent, you take a lot of that on how the decision, and then it does not, I'm here to tell you that it does not get older when they become adults or it doesn't get easier. Doesn't get easier when they become adults because then they start making decisions and you go, I wonder where they got the idea to do that. And so then if you have younger ones at the same time, in my situation, I have younger ones at the same time as older ones, and I'm going, we're not repeating that, boys and girls. So it's hard. It's hard. And I think we need to give each other a little more grace. This is how I would like to end the conversation for me tonight. We need to give each other a little more grace where decision making is concerned because we're all making those decisions from somewhere.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So before you judge somebody based on, and this is taking, of course, out of the equation that people are might just be being a jerk, whatever. That's their decision too.
Yeah.
But everybody's decision making comes from somewhere. It's all filtered through something, whether it's from someone else, their own life experience, what they think that how they process that. And so giving each other a little more grace for the decisions they make on behalf of themselves, their household, the votes they may or may not make in November. Stop judging people for their decisions because they've all been filtered through somewhere. This is my microphone and a pen.
And to add to your part of that is it's how can I say this? No, I'm gonna leave it alone.
You can. No, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna leave it alone because I'm gonna let it go. My part of the conversation to wrap this up is if you feel stuck emotionally, you might be stuck in the decision from the past. And so you might want to figure out and tell the truth to yourself and self-examine yourself with some other ideas of whatever area that you feel stuck in. It might be because of an unforeseen consequence or a reason why not. that you feel like you can't make a new decision. So I would recommend that if you feel stuck in an area of life, backtrack and see what the decision that you made about that conversation, and if it turned out or didn't turn out how you thought it should turn out. And that might be the space where you can then make another decision or make a choice, as we start to talk about on our next episode, because they feel different. That's all I can tell you. Experience it for yourself, that they feel different to make a decision and a choice, especially if it's based off of a reason why. And so you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to experience being stuck. That's a sign that something's going on.
It's a sign.
In your mindset.
We said it earlier. Okay, so we're gonna be back in 2 weeks. We're serious this time. Tuesday, July 22nd, same time, same place, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're gonna move on to the next part of our conversation, which is about choices. About choices. Let me scroll back.
Choose it. Make that choice.
Choice as empowerment. Choice as empowerment. Reclaiming your power to choose. Go ahead. You want a solo?
Oh no, thank you.
It's been so good to be back with you this year.
I decided not to sing that.
Back with you this evening. Always love having these conversations. And I want to give a big thank you to Ollie out there this evening. Woo woo.
What's happening? Thank you.
Ollie's over. Listen, Ollie's over here giving life advice about chocolate.
Let's go.
Okay. All right, chocolate. We got in the comments. Go listen. Rez was here. Hi, Rez. And then Rez was. Where is that comment? Oh, free beard. Was that Leonard Skinner? We don't know. So there we are with that. We had Brittany in the comments. If you joined us live this evening and you didn't say hello, why? Why was that the decision you made to not say hello? Why?
Why not?
That's my question. Next time, say hello, because that's what we do here. And tune in, because this is, yes, we have the conversation on air, but we like to have the conversation with you. And we want you to chime in, whether you agree, disagree, or somewhere in between. We want to hear from you. Like I said, we're going to continue the conversation in 2 weeks about choices. And we'll be back on July 22nd, 2025, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm Jessica Dugas. This is Farron Dozier over here.
Yo.
Make the decision to come back in 2 weeks, and we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Choose us.
Bye.